The night on Outpost 7 was quiet, too quiet for a human heart. Engineer Daniel Cross sat alone in the control room, the soft hum of machines filling the air. He liked the silence. It made him forget the wars, the losses, the empty sky around him. Then the alarm broke the calm. A sharp red light flashed on the panel. Unidentified craft approaching, the computer said. Daniel's hands moved fast, scanning the radar. It was small, weak, drifting through space like a dying bird. He opened the comms. "This is Outpost 7. Identify yourself." No answer, only static. The craft hit the landing bay with a soft crash. Daniel grabbed his tool gun and ran. His boots echoed in the metal corridors. When the hatch of the small pod opened, he froze inside. Was not a soldier, not a smuggler, but a child. Its skin was pale blue, eyes wide and glowing like moons. A tiny voice broke the heavy air. "Can I please stay with you, ... My mother died today." The words were soft, broken. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He lowered the gun. "It's okay," he whispered, though his voice trembled. The child stumbled out of the pod, clutching a thin blanket around its body. Its hands shook. Its breathing was sharp and fast. "What's your name?" Daniel asked gently. The child blinked, as if the question hurt. "Lyra." Daniel kneeled to its height. "Lyra, you're safe now." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "No. Not safe. They are coming." A cold wind seemed to run through the outpost, even though there was no wind in space. Daniel frowned. "Who is coming?" Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "Hunters. They killed my mother. They will kill me too." The engineer's stomach turned. He looked back at the broken pod. It had deep burns, signs of attack. "Okay," he said, keeping his voice calm. "You're safe here, I promise." He carried the child to the control room, wrapping a thermal blanket around its small body. Lyra's eyes kept darting to the ceiling, to the walls, as if shadows were chasing her. Daniel tried a smile. "You hungry?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes. But if they find me here, they will hurt you." The engineer laughed softly, though his heart was pounding. "Kid, I've been hurt before. You'll be fine." But when he turned to check the scanners, his smile faded. 3 unknown signals had appeared on the edge of the radar, moving fast, not rescue ships, not friendly. Lyra saw his face change and gripped his sleeve. "They found me." Daniel swallowed hard. "No. Maybe it's nothing." The child shook her head. "It is them. They always find." The comm system crackled. A voice deep and cold filled the room. "Human outpost, you have something that belongs to us. Surrender." The child, Daniel looked at Lyra, her small hands shaking, tears falling silently onto the metal floor. He muted the comm and knelt again. "Lyra, listen to me. I don't know who you are. I don't know what's going on, but you're not going anywhere, not while I'm breathing." Lyra stared at him, confused. "Why?" Daniel smiled, though his hands trembled. "Because you asked to stay, and I said yes." The child's lips parted, as if she wanted to speak but no words came. The comm crackled again, the voice colder now. "You have 1 hour, human, 1 hour before we take what is ours." Daniel stood and locked the controls, sealing the outpost. His mind raced. He had weapons, but nothing to fight a full alien squad. He was just an engineer, a man running from his past. But when he looked back at the small figure on the chair, holding the blanket like it was her last piece of home, he knew what he had to do. He crouched again and touched her shoulder gently. "Lyra, you can stay here forever. You hear me? Forever." Outside, in the endless black of space, the hunters moved closer. Inside, the human and the alien child sat in the cold light of the control room. 2 lives bound by fear and a promise. And the clock began to tick. Asterisk. The outpost felt different now. The quiet hum of the machines was no longer peaceful. It sounded like a heartbeat racing in fear. Daniel set a warm drink in front of the small alien child. The cup looked huge in her trembling hands. "Careful, it's hot," he said softly. Lyra nodded. sniffing the steam as if it was the first safe thing she had touched in days. The human sat across the table. He had seen a lot in his life: burned cities, broken soldiers, empty skies, but never this. Never a child so far from home. You're not from any race I know, Daniel said gently. Lyra's small voice barely rose above the hum. We don't talk to humans. My mother said. You are dangerous, Daniel smiled weakly. Dangerous, huh? Guess she wasn't wrong, he joked. Then his smile faded when he saw her eyes. They were not scared of him. They were scared of everything. He leaned closer. Lyra, who are they? The hunters? Her hands tightened on the cup. They take. They always take. They killed my mother because she protected me. A tear rolled down her cheek. They will come here. They will kill you too. Daniel wanted to tell her she was wrong, but the radar's silent blinking behind her said otherwise. 3 ships, still moving closer. Instead, he reached out and gently held her small hand. Hey, look at me, he said, his voice steady. Now, you are safe and you're not leaving. You asked to stay, right? Well, you're staying. For a moment, something changed in her eyes. Not fear, not sadness, but something else, a spark of hope. The child whispered, Why? Why would you help me? You don't know me. Daniel looked at her small fingers gripping his hand. Because once, a little girl asked me for help, and I wasn't there for her. He looked away, his jaw tight. I'm not making that mistake again. A soft sound broke the heavy moment. Lyra had moved closer, resting her head against his arm. For the first time since she arrived, her breathing slowed. The peace lasted only seconds. A sudden loud beep cut the air. The radar flashed red. The hunters were almost in range. Daniel stood fast, pulling up defense screens. His fingers flew over controls, sealing every door, every hatch. The cum crackled again. Human. You have 30 minutes. Give us the child, or we take everything. Lyra's small voice shook. Please. Let me go. If I go, they will leave you. You don't have to die. Daniel turned sharply. No, listen to me. You are not going anywhere. She stepped back, tears falling. But they always win. Daniel knelt, putting both hands on her shoulders. Not today. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with something fierce. Not while I'm here. For a moment, Lyra stared at him like she was trying to understand something. Then she whispered, Humans are different. Daniel almost laughed. Yeah, kid, we are. The lights flickered. A low rumble shook the outpost walls. The hunters were close enough to fire warning shots. Daniel grabbed his old rifle from the wall, his hand steady despite the storm inside him. He looked at her one more time. You stay right here, no matter what happens. Lyra shook her head. No. I can help. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Help? You're a kid. She wiped her tears, her small jaw set. My mother said, I have something inside me. Something they fear. Before Daniel could ask, the walls shook again, a voice deeper and colder filled the cum. This is your last chance, human. Daniel looked at the child, his voice steady. Guess we find out what that something is, huh? Lyra stepped closer, placing her tiny glowing hand on the metal floor. For the first time, Daniel saw it, power, soft and strange, running through her like a living light. The floor hummed under their feet, and the entire outpost seemed to wake up. Daniel stared, wide-eyed. Okay, kid. Now you really have my attention. Outside, the hunters' ships formed a dark wall against the stars. Inside, a human and a child sat between fear and something much greater, and in that moment, a bond was born. The outpost trembled under the weight of silence. The hunters had not fired, not yet, but their presence pressed against the metal walls like a storm waiting to break. Daniel stood at the main console, eyes locked on the glowing red dots moving closer on the radar. He'd had been a soldier once. He knew what those dots meant. Death in metal shells. Behind him, Lyra sat on the floor, her small hands still faintly glowing from whatever power she had awakened. She looked so small against the steel walls. "Daniel," her voice was soft. "They won't stop, they never stop." He turned, forcing a calm smile. "Then they're gonna meet someone who doesn't stop either." Her eyes searched his face. "Humans don't fear death?" Daniel gave a short laugh. "Oh, we fear it all the time, kid. We just fight anyway." The cum system hissed alive. The voice came again, cold and heavy. "Human. You are protecting a weapon. That child does not belong to you. Hand it over, or your outpost will burn." Daniel muted the cum and looked at Lyra. "Weapon? You're not a weapon." Lyra hugged herself, her small voice breaking. "They say I am dangerous. That's why they killed my mother. She tried to hide me." Daniel crouched, taking her small hands in his. "Listen to me. You are not a weapon. You are a kid who just lost her mom." Her lips trembled. "What if they are right? What if I hurt you too?" He smiled gently. "Then I'll take my chances. I've been hurt before." The radar beeped sharply. One of the dots broke formation, moving faster. Daniel's stomach twisted. "They're sending a boarding party." He grabbed his rifle, checking the old power cell. His hands were steady, his heart wasn't. "Stay here, Lyra," he said, voice firm. "Lock the door. Don't open it until I come back." She grabbed his sleeve, tears in her glowing eyes. "You will die if you fight them." Daniel placed his hand over hers. "Then I guess I'll just have to surprise them." He moved down the narrow corridor, the sound of his boots echoing. The air felt heavy, like the outpost itself was holding its breath. At the docking bay, the outer door lights turned red. The hunters were forcing entry. Daniel crouched behind a stack of supply crates, rifle aimed at the door. He whispered to himself, "Okay, Cross." Just like old times. The doors exploded inward with a blast of white light. Figures stepped through the smoke, tall and armored, their faces hidden behind black helmets. One of them spoke in a voice like metal scraping stone. "Human, step aside. The creature is ours." Daniel stood slowly, rifle raised. "She's not a creature, she's a kid." The lead hunter tilted its head. "You don't understand. That child carries the seed. It will end worlds." Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. "Yeah? Well, right now she just wants someone to hold her hand." The hunters moved forward, weapons humming, and then the floor under them shook. A soft hum rose through the walls. In the control room, Lyra had placed both glowing hands on the ground. Again, her small voice trembled as she whispered, "Please, not him too." Back in the bay, the metal walls pulsed with light. The hunters paused, their weapons flickering. The leader snarled, "She is waking." Daniel didn't wait. He fired. The blast hit the nearest hunter, sending it crashing into the wall. The others raised their weapons, but the light in the room surged. A wave of energy pushed out from the floor, slamming into the hunters like a living storm. Daniel shielded his eyes. "Lyra, what the hell are you?" The hunters stumbled back, their armor sparking. One shouted over the cum, "Secure the seed." "Now!" Daniel fired again, covering the corridor. "Not today," he growled, his voice cut through the smoke, raw and alive. "Lyra, you gotta stop or you'll bring this place down." Her voice echoed through the outpost, soft and breaking. "I don't want to lose you too." The light flared once more, then died. Silence slammed down. The hunters staggered back toward their ship, retreating under the sudden weight of fear. One turned before leaving, its voice sharp. "Human, you have no idea what you are protecting." The docking bay fell silent. Daniel dropped to one knee, breathing hard. His ears rang, his hands shook. "Kid," he whispered into the cum, "you okay?" A soft voice came back. "Daniel, did I hurt you?" He smiled, even as his chest ached. "Nah, kid. You just saved me." In the control room, Lyra sat shaking, tears running down her pale blue cheeks. Outside, the hunters' ships pulled back, but not far. Never far, and Daniel Cross knew this was only the beginning. Asterisk. The outpost was no longer quiet. It was alive with the sound of warning sirens and Daniel's pounding heartbeat. Smoke curled in the docking bay where the hunters had broken through. Daniel sat against the wall, rifle across his lap. His hands were steady now, but his eyes told the truth. He was running out of time. In the control room, Lyra sat curled into herself. The glow in her hands had faded, leaving her small and trembling. Once again, Daniel, her soft voice broke through the calm. They won't stop. They never stop until they take me. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the words sink like lead. Then he stood and walked back through the corridor, each step heavy with the weight of what he already knew. This wasn't just a rescue. This was a war. When he entered the control room, Lyra looked up. Her glowing eyes were red from crying. "They will come again," she whispered. "Stronger." Daniel kneeled down to her height. "Yeah, I know." Her small hands twisted the blanket on her lap. "You should give me to them." The words cut deeper than any weapon. Daniel shook his head slowly. "Not a chance." Her voice broke. "If you keep me, you will die. I don't want you to die too." He put his hands on her shoulders, firm but gentle. "Listen, Lyra, you are not a thing to be handed over. You are not a weapon. You're a kid, and you asked me to stay." Her lip trembled. "But why? Why would you protect me? You don't even know me." Daniel's voice softened. "Because I know what it's like to lose someone and wish someone had fought harder to save them." His eyes were glassy now. "I couldn't save my little girl. I'm not making that mistake again." Lyra's small fingers curled around his hand. "Your little girl?" He nodded once. "She would have been about your age now." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the outpost was the only sound. Then the comm system flared to life. The cold voice of the hunters returned. "Human, you have 20 minutes left. This is your last chance to live." Lyra flinched. "They won't leave until they have me." Daniel stood, turning to the console. His fingers flew over the controls, sealing doors, activating the few defenses. "The outpost had left. Then they're gonna have to kill me first." The child stood too, her small voice shaking. "Daniel, if you die because of me." He turned sharply. "If I die, kid, it'll be because I chose to." Outside, the hunters' ships shifted, black shadows against the cold stars. Their engines hummed like a beast preparing to strike. Daniel stared at the radar and took a deep breath. Then he turned to Lyra and said the words that sealed his choice. "You can stay here forever, you hear me? Forever." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not from fear this time, but something else, a fragile, breaking hope. She whispered, "No one has ever said that to me." The walls shook suddenly, a warning blast striking the outpost shields. The lights flickered, and the air filled with the metallic taste of fear. Daniel grabbed the rifle and handed her a small comm unit. "Stay hidden, no matter what happens, do you understand?" Lyra gripped the device but didn't move. "Daniel, if they take me, don't come for me." He crouched, meeting her eyes, his voice low and fierce. "Kid, if they take you, I will burn the stars to get you back." Another blast rocked the outpost, metal screaming under the strain. Outside, the hunters moved into formation for a full assault. Inside, a human and a child stood together against the dark. Lyra's small voice broke the heavy air. "Humans are strange." Daniel smiled faintly. "Yeah, we are." The sirens wailed. The clock on the console counted down the last 20 minutes. And Daniel Cross made his choice not to surrender, not to run, but to fight for one small life in a universe that had forgotten mercy. The stars outside the outpost went dark, not because the sun had faded, but because the hunters had arrived. 5 massive ships hovered in silence, casting shadows across the cold metal walls. Inside, Daniel stood alone in the corridor, facing the main door like a man guarding the last flame on Earth. He wore no armor, just an old jacket, scratched and faded from years of war. His rifle was charged, but he knew it wouldn't be enough. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was something older, Something stronger, a protector behind him. Lyra sat in the deepest corner of the outpost, her knees pulled to her chest, her fingers glowing faintly with soft blue light. She had seen battles before, from under a floor, behind a door, always hiding while others screamed, but this was different. Someone was standing for her. Not running away. The outpost lights dimmed. Power drained from the outer shields. The hunters were beginning. Daniel spoke through the voice steady. Lyra, when I say run, you take the back tunnel and don't stop. You hear me? Her voice came through, shaking but strong. No, he blinked, surprised. No? I won't leave you, she said. Not again. He let out a slow breath, then smiled. All right then, kid, he whispered. Let's give them hell. The first blast hit the side of the outpost. Steel screamed, sparks flew. Daniel braced himself as the lights flickered, then grabbed a second charge pack for his rifle. The main doors exploded inward with a roar of smoke and fire. Figures in dark armor rushed in tall, faceless, cold. Daniel fired first, energy bolt catching one in the chest, dropping it in sparks. He moved fast, ducking behind crates, shooting from cover, but they kept coming. Too many, too fast. Go now. He shouted into the but Lyra didn't run. She stood instead, her glowing hands trembling, her heart breaking. She whispered something ancient, a word not in any human language, and the air around her shifted. The walls of the outpost began to hum. The machines responded to her voice. The lights bent toward her. The metal beneath her feet pulsed like it was alive. One hunter reached Daniel, knocking his rifle aside and slamming him into the wall. Pain exploded in his ribs. The hunter raised its blade and then froze. Its armor sparked, lines of blue energy crawling over its body like fire. The hunter screamed an inhuman mechanical sound and dropped to the floor. Behind it, Lyra stood, eyes glowing like suns. I told you, she said softly. Don't touch him. The other hunters turned, but the outpost itself was no longer. Still, pipes groaned, doors slammed shut, wires lashed out like vines. The whole station was responding to Lyra's power. Daniel gasped from the floor, blinking through the pain. Lyra, what are you doing? She looked at him, her face calm now. I don't know, she whispered, but I think this place listens to me. The hunters tried to regroup, but the floor split beneath them, energy surging through the gaps. One by one, their weapons failed. Their suits sparked and fell quiet. The last of them reached toward Lyra. You are the end, it hissed. She stepped forward, the air bending around her like heat. No, she said, voice strong and clear. I am the beginning. And with one wave of her hand, the hunter fell silent and still. Daniel pulled himself up, breathing hard, staring at the child glowing with ancient power. What are you? Lyra turned to him slowly, eyes still shining. I don't know, she said, but they fear me. Because of what I might become, he nodded, wiping blood from his mouth. Well then, he said, let's make sure you become someone they regret messing with. Outside, the sky was quiet again. The hunter ships had gone still. Some drifting, some powering down, whatever they had come for. They hadn't taken it. Inside, a wounded human leaned against a console, and a glowing child stood by his side. They had won the battle, but Daniel knew the war was just beginning. The outpost was quiet again. But it was not peace. It was the quiet after a storm, the kind that makes the air heavy. The kind that says another storm is coming. Daniel sat at the console, his ribs aching under every breath. The screen showed the hunter ships drifting just outside the shield line. They were waiting, not defeated, only watching. Behind him, Lyra sat cross-legged on the floor, the last traces of the blue glow fading from her hands. Her small voice broke the silence. They know now. They know what I am. Daniel turned, his face soft but tired. What are you, kid? She hesitated, eyes fixed on her small hands. My mother. She told me something before she died. Her voice cracked. She said I carry the seed. Daniel frowned, the word cold in his ears. Seed? That's what they called you too. Lyra nodded, tears sliding down her pale skin. She said, the seed is life, but also death, that it can make worlds grow, or burn them to ash. Daniel crouched beside her, lowering his voice. Kid, are you saying you can destroy planets? Her eyes lifted to his, glowing faintly. I don't want to, she whispered. I never want to. But they fear what I might become. Daniel sat back, running a hand through his hair. He wasn't a scientist, wasn't a leader. He was just a man who fixed things. And now he was staring at a child who might hold the power to unmake the stars. Lyra reached out, tugging his sleeve gently. Do you hate me now? Daniel looked at her, his voice firm and quiet. No, kid. I don't hate you, you didn't. Choose this, her lips trembled, but if I lose control, you will die. He smiled sadly. If you lose control, everyone dies. So we're just gonna make sure you never do. The cum suddenly hissed to life. The hunter's voice came. Again, colder than before. Human. You protect something you don't understand. That child is not your salvation. It is your end. Daniel unmuted the channel, his voice steady. You had your chance to take her. You failed. Now get the hell off my sky. The voice laughed. A low, terrible sound. You think this is over? You think you won? The seed is awake now, and soon all will come for it. You cannot hide her, human, not from us. Not from the galaxy. The transmission cut, leaving only silence. Daniel turned to Lyra, who sat frozen, her glowing eyes wide with fear. They will all come, she whispered. Not just the hunters. Everyone. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder, firm and warm. Then let them come, he said. We'll be ready. For a long moment, they just sat there. A broken human and a child carrying the power of creation and destruction. 2 lives against the weight of a galaxy. Finally, Daniel broke the silence with a soft laugh. You know, kid, I used to think fixing engines was hard. Lyra tilted her head, confused. This is harder? He smiled faintly. Yeah. But it's worth it. She leaned against him, small and fragile. Daniel, if I am the seed, what does that make you? He looked at the stars through the cracked window, his voice low. Guess that makes me the fool who decided to plant. Outside, the hunters' ships began to move again, but they did not attack, they left. Slipping back into the dark, not because they had given up, but because they had seen enough to tell the galaxy the seed had awakened. Inside the outpost, Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. He didn't know how long they had, or who would come next, but as Lyra's small hand slipped into his, he made a silent promise. Whatever you are, whatever you become, you won't face it alone. The stars outside were not empty anymore. They burned with light, too much light. One by one, ships appeared on the horizon of space, not hunters this time, but others, dozens, maybe hundreds. Daniel stood at the main window, his reflection pale. In the glass, they heard, he whispered, behind him. Lyra hugged the blanket close, her glowing eyes fixed on the endless swarm of ships. They all heard. Because of me, he turned to her, forcing a calm smile. Because of what you are, her small voice broke. Then, it's over, isn't it? They will take me, and you. You'll die. Daniel crouched to her level, his hand steady on her small shoulders. Kid, look at me. We're not done. We're just getting started. A soft alarm pulsed on the console signals, flooding comes from every direction. Different languages, different voices, all saying the same thing. Give us the seed. Daniel muted them all. His voice was quiet. You hear that, Lyra? That's the whole damn galaxy asking for you. Her lip trembled. And you? He smiled, tired and warm. I'm not asking, I'm telling you. You're staying here. The floor vibrated under their feet as the first ship charged weapons. Daniel grabbed his old rifle and laughed under his breath. Guess we're about to make some history. Lyra stepped forward, her small hand glowing again. I won't let them hurt you. Daniel shook his head. Kid, this isn't about me. It's about you. You have a choice now. She stared at him, confused. A choice? He nodded slowly. You can run, you can hide, you can surrender. But if you stay, you fight, not with power, but with who you are. Tears welled in her eyes. And if I lose control? He smiled faintly. Then we lose together. The outpost lights flickered. The ships outside moved into position. Lyra closed her eyes and took a slow breath. Her small hands touched the floor, and the hum began again, but this time it was not wild. It was steady, calm, like a heartbeat. Daniel watched as the walls pulsed with soft blue light. Easy, kid. Don't burn the place down. Her voice came back, soft but strong. I don't want to burn. I want to grow. Outside, the weapons on the closest ship sparked and shut down. Then another and another, one by one, the entire swarm of ships fell silent, their engines dimming. Lyra opened her eyes, glowing like two small suns. I'm not their weapon, she said softly. I'm not their fear. She looked up at Daniel. I'm their hope. For a long moment, the galaxy held its breath. And then the ships turned. Slowly, silently, leaving one by one, not defeated, not afraid, but changed. Daniel let out a shaky laugh and dropped his rifle to the floor. You did it, kid. You really did it. Lyra stumbled forward, and he caught her before she fell. Her voice was weak now. Daniel, can I still stay? He held her close, his voice breaking as he whispered the words that had carried them through it all. You can stay forever. Outside, the stars burned quiet again. Inside, a broken man and a small child sat on the cold metal floor, holding on to the only thing the galaxy could not take from them, each other.